Hello, welcome back to Entrepreneur School. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend Allison Hardy today. Allison is an email strategist, and she helps coaches and experts enroll new clients into their courses or memberships on autopilot. She's the creator of the Six Figure Secrets podcast, a Huffington Post contributor, and has been featured in YFS Magazine and was named one of Washington, D.C.'s most influential professionals under 40 by Washington Life magazine. She and her husband Teer and their two kids, Camden and Nora, live right outside of Washington in Arlington, Virginia. And I have to say, Allison is one of my favorite humans. I have had the pleasure of meeting her a couple of times in person. We had some poolside 7 a.m. business brainstorming sessions together, and she is truly the queen when it comes to email funnel strategy. Allison, in this episode, is going to walk us through the 7 emails that you need in your pitch sequence. So these are the emails that actually present the offer that you want to send out to the people on your email list, and work through the different psychologies and information that's needed to actually help somebody make a buying decision so that you can get those payment notifications while you are Christmas shopping at your kids' holiday concerts or at hockey games or wherever you are that is not sitting behind your desk having sales calls. And Allison is truly amazing at this. So I'm so excited for you to learn her strategies, and make sure you get your notebook out for this one, because we are seriously walking through each and every one of these emails that you need. So you should be making notes so you can create your own template and figure out the best way for you to make sales through emails for your business. And welcome to Entrepreneur School.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm really excited for this conversation about emails, because email marketing still, like, why do we still have to keep telling people to do this, right?
Yes. It's like always a conversation.
Yes. So let's dive in, because as an email marketing, email funnel strategist, you have some really great approaches and templates and structures and all of it to help people. And we'll walk through your 7 main emails that you think everybody needs as part of actually helping them sell what they are offering to their audience. But let's just back up to the whole concept of email marketing and why this is important, and how it's different from some of the other things that people are doing, such as social media, etc.
Yeah. So I hear this all the time. I hear that email marketing is hard. It's not that much fun. Instagram is way more fun. It's way more exciting. There's way more people to talk to. And while I get it, totally understand, and I sometimes feel that way too, I would argue you are doing your business a disservice, and you're not actually making the impact that you could make if you're not utilizing email marketing. So if we just look at it from a numbers perspective, let's say you have 10,000 people that follow you on Instagram and you have 10,000 people on your email list. On Instagram, the average is 1 to 3% of your people see your stuff. So if we look at that number, I can't do that math super well in my head right now, but I think that's 100 people. 100 to 300 people are going to see your stuff on Instagram out of your 10,000 people that follow you. Whereas with email marketing, okay, open rate is 20%. And while that doesn't sound like a lot, that's, what is that number? 2,000 people. I can't do the math in my head. That's 2,000 people are going to see your offer or your email, right? And so if you have an offer inside of the email, they can easily click to it, right? You can have the link, you can hyperlink it, you can have a button, they can easily click to that offer and potentially buy. Whereas on Instagram, if it's a post, that's not clickable, right? They have to go to your bio, or they have to go to your stories, they have to go all the places to find it. And so you're going to lose them. They're going to click off and forget about you, because that app is meant to keep us scrolling, right? And they don't want us leaving the app.
Mm-hmm.
So looking at it just from that perspective, as far as I'm concerned, the numbers don't lie. It makes sense to lean hard into email marketing. And I'm not bashing Instagram. I think it's great. I think it's awesome. I hang out on there all the time. But email marketing is where you will see actual sales come through.
And even if you think about the difference in the way that people are participating in the platform on social media versus email, like as the audience member, like when I'm on Instagram, I'm like, if I was doing it like for consumption purposes, I would be just scrolling and trying to like entertain myself. And then after 5 minutes, feel guilty that I was there because I shouldn't really be there because that's, I'm clearly just like distracted versus when I'm reading my email, that's work.
Yeah. And email is set up to buy or to sell. Think about it. Like, for example, I get emails every single day from Old Navy, and I'm not upset that Old Navy sends me an email every day because sometimes they have the Rockstar jeans that my beanpole of a son wears for 50% off. So like, I'm going to buy them when they're 50% off. Like, I am ready to buy from email marketing. I am not necessarily ready to buy from Instagram marketing.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, so those numbers are significant in terms of the actual eyeballs on your thing. So what are some of your pro tips on email marketing for sales?
Email marketing for sales. So number one, send out way more emails than you think you will ever need. So if we look at the numbers, if our average open rate is 20%, that means 80% of the people that are on your email list aren't opening up the emails. So in order to get that 80% to open up those emails, you have to send out more emails. There's really no way to like get by that. You have to send out more emails. So if you're planning on sending out 3 emails over the course of 3 days, I would maybe encourage you to double that or triple that so that you're getting more eyes on your emails, because the more eyes get on your emails, the more people learn about your offer. The more people learn about your offer, the more people buy your offer. And so again, it's just math. It's just simple math and percentages and knowing your numbers. Another thing I would recommend you do is that you invite people to join your thing or to buy your thing, whatever it is, multiple times in each email. Statistics tell us that when people open up an email, they usually scroll right to the bottom and read the PS. So if you want someone to buy something, put that buy now button or that offer right there in the PS. And then if they're like, oh, this sounds interesting, they go back up to the top of the email and they scroll through it. So if they didn't buy off of that PS, they'll scroll back up, have your offer seated throughout the body of that email multiple times. Like, I would encourage you to try 3 times in every email to have like a hyperlinked phrase or buy now button or something that directs them to that offer page. And then the third thing is I would split test your subject lines. So subject lines are kind of like your first line of defense when it comes to getting people to actually open up your emails. They read the subject line and they're like, oh, that sounds interesting, or no, not for me. So let's say you write a pitch sequence and in January you send it out, and then your plan is to launch that thing again in March. Go back and look at your January emails. And if the subject line or if the open rates weren't super high, if they weren't like 40 to 50%, change up the subject lines and try different ones. Have the same emails, totally fine, but change the subject lines and see if you can create a subject line that gets more opens.
Yeah, I definitely love people's creative subject lines. Sometimes they really aren't even relevant to what the actual email is about, but I still open them.
Yeah, sometimes the like intriguing, curiosity creating subject lines are super, super effective. And sometimes the like how to X subject lines are super, super effective. And you never know until, you try it out and see what works best for your audience, because everyone's audience works differently.
Okay, so when we're thinking about, like, say, I just want to like contextualize this for a second. Obviously, we're not going to be always selling in our emails. Otherwise, people would probably unsubscribe at a lot higher rate than if you were also providing valuable content. So what does that kind of balance look like, and how do you separate those timelines for you, and what do you advise?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it really depends on the business. So like if you have an open and closed cart model, so let's say you launch a mastermind 2 times a year, you're obviously only going to be promoting that mastermind 2 times a year. But to keep it top of mind and maybe to get people over onto the wait list, what you could do is in all of your value filled emails, maybe like a month up to it or 2 months up to the launch, you offer them the opportunity to get on the wait list. And so you're not selling them, right? But you're seeding the program and you're telling them, hey, it's going to launch January 2nd, or open cart's going to start on this day. When you enroll in this week, we'll give you this bonus. Like, you're sharing with them what the offer is going to be, what the pitch is going to be. And you're kind of collecting like that pool of interested people. So that's like one way to think about that. The other way to think about it is if you have a, like a closed cart model. Yeah, you have a closed cart model. You only open the cart to certain people. So you could have, a funnel, an automated funnel working, and that cart opens and closes to the people inside of that funnel. And so if they're not inside the funnel, you could provide value. You could always offer up new ways for people to get into a funnel. And like, you could still pitch them, you could flash sale your course or your membership or whatever the thing is once a month, every other month, to just scoop up people who have been eyeing it up. But it's really like, what are your goals and how can you make the platform work more appropriately for you?
Yeah. And we were kind of having a conversation even before we jumped on our recording here, just about like, how the content in your emails needs to help shape, like bring people along a journey to not always be like, hello, I have this thing, would you like to buy it, like right off the bat? But you're interested in insert your expertise here. Here's like different perspectives about it. Like, have you struggled with this problem? Those are like kind of things that bring people along. So actually, I feel like this is going to lead into your pitch sequence description anyway. So, and I know this because Allison has an amazing group called the Funnel of the Month Club, and I was part of it for a long time. And she has these fantastic templates that help you like build out these email sequences that you can then write and then automate and then bring people into, and then essentially get your emails to automatically sell your stuff for you, which is #goals. So
That's what everyone needs.
Let's talk a little bit about those 7 emails that for a pitch sequence. So specifically when you have an end goal of trying to sell an offer. And for those of you listening, if you're like, I don't have a digital product, like that doesn't have to be that. It can be working with you one-on-one, your a service package, a bundle, anything that you are trying to get them to buy into.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've developed a system where there's 7 emails that every pitch sequence should have. And they speak to the different ways that different folks are motivated. Like, I'm the type of person that like, I don't necessarily need a lot of details when I buy something. It depends on the price point and what it is. But like, I don't need to know that there's 45-minute calls once a week. I just need to know I get calls, right? So like, I'm not the details person, but some people are a super detailed people. Some people need to know all the things. Some people are really motivated by pain points. Some people are really motivated by pleasure points. So each of these emails is designed to speak to different types of buyers. So the first email is just a plain old open cart email. So it's the nuts and bolts, and this is the one I usually buy off of. So it's like, name of program is open. The program is for this type of person. In this program, we're going to help you do this. Here's your offer. And like, here are the deliverables, right? So very like to the point, nothing fancy, very clear, cut like to the point, and like just cuts out all the details, cuts out all the fluff, and it is just details. There we go. The second email is the frequently asked questions email. So as you open up the cart, or maybe as you've launched this before, you're going to have people ask you the same question over and over and over again. And while we may answer these questions on the sales page, some people don't read the whole sales page like me. So what it does is it takes that frequently asked questions section and puts it into an email. And the thing that we need to think about here is anytime someone has a question, it's actually a deeper objection. So if someone asks, how long should I expect to spend on this program every week, right? How much time? You can answer the question. You could say 5 hours, but think about it deeper here. So that person probably has something going on in their life that cuts in on their time. Maybe they've got little kids. Maybe their spouse works really long hours. Maybe they don't have help with their kids. Maybe they take care of an aging parent. Maybe they're in a 9-to-5, whatever the thing is. So their time is short. So what you could then do after you straight up answer the question, you could say inside of your program, and you can talk about a deliverable of the program that helps them to do something faster. So I'm going to help you set this thing up through this tool I have. You get access to it in the program, and it's going to go from you spending 5 hours to cutting this down to 30 minutes. So it helps them to see like, oh, because I'm going to have access to this thing, it's going to help me get this up and going faster than if I just try to do this on my own. So it validates the need for the program while also answering their question. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like you're helping them buy their time back and really showcasing that this investment is more than just like the tangible program and the tools and the things that are inside of it.
Yeah. It helps it to see them actually using it. The third email is the client story. So we always have to share client stories because people need to see themselves as your client. Even if the person reading the email doesn't have like the exact situation as your client, they're going to get a taste of what it's like working with you. So you want to make sure to share, where this person was before they enrolled, why they enrolled, and then what results they saw as they worked through the program and what the outcome of the program was for them. So I think in this email, a lot of people get really, really caught up and they think it should be like this big, crazy, like life-changing transformation. And that's great if you have one of those. But if you don't, like on average, you're probably not going to have big life-changing transformations with all of your clients. There's going to be a different level of transformation, and that's okay. So pull out a different level of transformation and include that in that email because it's going to be very relatable. Most people need to be pretty realistic when it comes to like investing in something. So showing like a not super flashy transformation can actually be a really big advantage for you because they might be thinking like, I just want to do this thing. I don't need this big thing, and just a different level that people are motivated.
And a little more relatable. But what do you do when you're launching something new and you maybe haven't had client testimonials yet?
Yeah, that's a good question. You just do 2 of email number 4. So email number 4 is your story. So you've probably been your ideal client or you're like an expert in this field naturally. So what you want to do in email number 4 is share your story with like the topic that you teach. So share your transformation story, share how you became an expert, share, a stumbling block you had, why you're so invested in this thing and why you built an entire business around this thing. So if you don't have the client story, do 2 of your stories. And I know sometimes people are like, well, my story is not exciting. It's okay. Everyone will relate to something with your story. And I would argue a lot of people feel that way. Like, oh, my story is not really all that interesting. Sharing your like kind of mediocre story helps them to see like, hey, I don't have to have this big, I don't have to have this big life-changing story in order for this program to work for me. I can be like super normal or super average and just want to do better in this area, just like her. And it makes you a whole lot more relatable.
I think that's such an important point to share. Like we do feel like we have to create these monumental things that transform lives. And yes, that's great if you have aspirations to have see the impact that way. But at the same time too, there are like, what's the level that the person really wants to be at? Is it is it relatable for you to say, like, imagine having $600,000 in your bank account? Well, if somebody is like, I have $0 in my bank account, they're not going to very easily take the leap to imagining and like feeling like that is a good and realistic step for them too.
Yeah. And like, think about the type of work that's going to go into making that happen. If that's the example we're going with, right? So how likely is it that that person's actually going to make that happen? Probably not super likely. It could be, but
right.
Not a good likelihood. But if someone could go from like 5 to 6 figures, like that might make more sense, right? That might be less of a uphill battle. It might be more of a nice mountain you get to climb. So like thinking about it in that way could also be really helpful.
Yeah, and those examples coming up in my mind right now. I was talking with a business owner who's how do I say this? Who owns a helicopter? Okay, so like that level of financial freedom, and I was thinking to myself, like, do I want to own a helicopter? Like, I don't have to literally own a helicopter, but do I see myself as wanting the kind of money that I could own a helicopter? And that just seemed like not where I wanted to go, right? So that was just too big of a gap or too much differentiation from where I am.
Mhm.
So I think that just kind of supports what you were just saying. So what email are we
Yeah.
on? 5?
Yeah. Okay. So now we're on email number 5. This is the engagement email. And this is my favorite email. This is the one that I get the most sales off of when I implement this system in my business. So email number 5 is super simple. It looks like just a regular Gmail email. It says, hey, name of person. I see you haven't enrolled yet in name of program. What questions do you have for me? Hit reply and ask away. And what it does is it gets them to talk to you and you become like a real person to them. When you can get people to talk to you and to ask questions, you can answer their questions, you can debunk their objections and learn more. It opens up the door for a conversation. And that's a very powerful sales tool because as soon as you feel like seen and heard by someone that you're thinking of buying a program from, it just makes it so much easier to buy, right? You're like, oh, okay. And your like threshold is lowered. You don't have your guard up as much anymore. You're like, okay, she responded to me. And that's really cool. I really appreciate her doing that. And like, cool. Yeah. Then now I can move forward with my decision. So it just like gets them to make a decision most of the time when they can talk to you and you have an actual conversation. It's a yes, and they move forward with you. But again, it just helps people to like figure it out once and for all if you are for them. And that's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. And especially even from the side of the person who's making the offer,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have this like perception that email marketing is like, I'm just gonna wake up and I'm gonna have all these sales. And like you sometimes just actually don't know what you're going to expect, and it can be super stressful. But if you actually start a conversation with someone, you're like, oh, okay, there are like these 5 people who've reached out who are real leads now, who I can think of as like, what else could I say to these people specifically? Could I look them up on Instagram? Could I like have more of a conversation? Could I take this to the next level and have support them further in helping them make this decision? So when you're actually thinking about that there's people on the other end of the emails, it's definitely changes your own mindset too as the person making the offer.
Yeah, for sure. It helps. And you can also, during like the open cart period, if you have like this person that emailed you back and they're like so ideal, but they just have this like one hang up, you can like create content and Instagram posts, and Instagram stories around that like hang up. You can judge your emails lately to like reflect that. So it just gives you more, data, more market research to really create content that is engaging and also helps.
All right, what's number 6?
Number 6 is the pain point email. So I know we don't like talking about pain points. I know we don't like to harp on things. I'm not all about the like stab them and then turn the knife types of pain points. I just want you to call them out. So your ideal client is looking to you to help them solve a problem. So they need to understand that you understand the problem. So by calling out the problems and painting the picture and saying, hey, I get it. I know you're experiencing this. I know you're experiencing this. I know you're experiencing this, helps them to be like, yes, yes, yes. And when you can get them to say yes, 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 they're more likely to say yes to your offer. So do not be afraid to send out a pain point based email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that validation, right? Like that, oh, she gets me.
Yeah. And like as you get more successful, you are going to like get farther away from your ideal client. I feel weird saying it this way, but like there's going to become a bigger gap between where
Mm,
your ideal client is and where you are. And so, especially as you start to see and experience more success and work with more clients and grow the business, you're going to become more unrelatable. So, you need to have, I would argue, more pain point based emails so that they can be like, oh, right, this is for me. And it just helps them to decide. That's really all we want out of these emails.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so wrapping it up in number 7.
Number 7 is the aspirational or the pleasure point focused email. So this is the one for like the Enneagram 7s, for the people who are like very extroverted, usually high energy people. They love this email. It's the email that talks about like the transformation, like what's possible when you do this work. This is what you're going to experience. This is what you could have. This is what you could do. This is what, how you'll move forward and what you can expect to work towards inside of the program. So it just gets people really hyped up. What I find is the people who enroll off of that email are the procrastinators. But
Mhm.
they're also the people who like buy, they get the portal link and they consume like something within the first 30 minutes of them buying because they're so excited about it. They're also the ones that go on social and shout you out. They're the ones that like talk about your program on social and have really awesome social proof for you. So it's just a really helpful email. And I always love sending this email with 4 hours or 2 hours left of the cart open because it just scoops up a very specific type of person.
That's so interesting. Okay, so 7 emails. How long? Let's talk timing of like what this timeline looks like for when you're sending these out.
Yeah, it depends on the program or the offer. For courses or memberships that are like under $1,000, I think you could send these out over the course of 3 days. So 2 in the first day, 2 in the second day, 3 in the third day. If it's something bigger, like one-on-one or a mastermind, I think you could drip these out like 1 a day for 7 days. A lot of times we think that we're serving our people better by having these really long open cart periods. And it's usually not the case. It's usually just keeping them in decision fatigue, overwhelm, and a confused mind doesn't buy. So shorten your open cart periods. I would argue you'll see a more qualified ideal client come through. You won't have the clients who are like, I don't know, this is for me. Like, I don't know, that sort of energy. You won't have those folks booking calls with you. You're going to have people who are like really interested, are empowered, and want to hear more from you.
Oh, that's so interesting because I feel like the 7 day open cart is sort of like the standard that is being shared, and like the one email a day or maybe two on the last day, sort of.
Mhm.
That's even sort of what I've done in the past.
I think for a smaller ticket thing though, like under $1,000, like people can buy relatively quickly. It depends on your audience. If you maybe are not filled with a bunch of entrepreneurs like us, maybe consider extending it to maybe 4 days. But at the end of the day, like get people to buy and get them to buy quickly. Again, if we look at Old Navy, like they have 24-hour sales for a reason, because it gets people to buy.
Mhm.
Um, so, and they're not an audience filled with entrepreneurs, they're everyday people. So don't be afraid to shorten those, don't be afraid to shorten those pitch sequences.
Love that. That's exciting. And then just quickly transitioning to other exciting things before we wrap up. And well, actually, first, you have a resource related to this email sequence that we're sharing with people?
Yes. So I have the $80,000 email. And so what this is, it's that email number 5. It'll give you a template, it'll give you an email example, and it'll give you the strategy behind it so that you can create a highly engaged email, get lots of people flooding your inbox with questions so you can answer their questions and enroll them into your program.
Woohoo, amazing. That's so good. And we are sharing this episode today because it's a special week in December where Allison is hosting an amazing bundle of goodies that you can get access to. So, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's called the Automated Sales Bundle. We have 50 experts who have come together and are sharing resources around how to make that actually happen for you. So we have lead generation experts, we have branding experts, we have visibility experts like yourself.
Mhm.
We have copywriters, we have launch strategists, we have Facebook ad strategists coming in to help you set up the systems and have the tools in place so that you aren't required to constantly be on to sell your stuff. So you can grab resources from 50 amazing experts in the online space, and it's all free.
Woohoo! And so the link for that will be below as well, and it will only be available for a short period of time. So make sure you are checking out when you're listening to this, hopefully in real time, and get your hands on that. And also make sure that you go and follow Allison over on Instagram, and her website is below. Any final words that you want to leave the audience with today, Allison?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people overcomplicate email marketing. I think we got all up in our heads about what it has to be, what it isn't, and there's all these rules behind it. But it's my hope and my intention to really help you develop a framework for yourself and have a way in which you move throughout your email marketing and develop a way that markets your offers that is not only effective and profitable, but also feels really, really good for you. So with anything that I said today, if you're like, oh, no, make it your own. Like, don't feel like you have to be put in a box. If you don't like an idea, you don't like an idea, and that's okay. But try to make the framework I gave you or the emails I gave you, however you want to think about it, work for you instead of like feeling like you have to fit into them.
That's so good. I love that. It's very aligned with my approach as well. I do think, all of us are different. We all have our own skill sets and strengths and experiences, et cetera. And so customization is a really important part of any strategy that you're going to start implementing in your business. But at the end of the day, do email marketing. Do it.
And figure out how it works for you.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
I highly encourage.
Allison, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Kelly.